Good evening, everybody whoever is joining us now or will join us later. I'm so happy and thrilled to be with Ahlam Ali. She is a very good friend of mine, and I know her for a few years already. My God, the time is running so quickly. After we first met in a hotel where I was working at the retreat, first wellness retreat hotel in Dubai, where we made several workshops together, and we hosted as well some events, and as well few retreats that we planned to do together, and we did as well some workshops in terms of collaboration between retreat and Ahlam. So I am thrilled to have you tonight, Ahlam, and I know that you're super busy, and thank you so much for devoting your time tonight. By the way, for those of you who are watching us, Ahlam flies between three continents, basically. So she is in Dubai, but also in London, and at the moment she is in US. Where exactly in US?
In New York, actually. Capital
Wow,
of New York in Albany.
amazing.
It
So
is. And the
that's
weather is still good, surprisingly. So I'm quite thrilled.
amazing. So, just to introduce you shortly, Ahlam, although I know that most of the people maybe perhaps already knew or heard about you, because you're doing so many amazing entrepreneurial things together in your life. Ahlam is a nutritionist and a health coach, as well as a mental and health science coach. So she is behind the vegan-friendly artisan cheese and power jars healthy meals concept, of which she is managing director. Ahlam Ali moved to Dubai 17 years back, and she spends her time now between Dubai, US, and London. And in London, her 21-year-old son, Gibran,
22 now.
yay! Happy birthday.
Yes.
I know it.
Alhamdulillah. Yes.
Yeah, I know it was a few days back.
Yes.
Where he now studies at Cambridge. So thank you for devoting again the time tonight and to enlighten us about your gut protocol. So I got a lot of interested already a lot of interested people on the subject. So I will directly jump into discussion or perhaps the talk with you and your presentation on that. And then if there is questions, we can manage that separately. Ahlam.
That's amazing. First of all, thank you for having me on your really, really well acclaimed platform. Actually, you're doing amazing things with retreats, with wellness. I mean, you've literally just become the voice of wellness in Dubai, to be honest. As I've seen over the last few months, you've just emerged and you've, I think, pretty much transformed. First of all, you brought everybody on a platform. You've consolidated all the health and well-being and mind sciences practitioners. And I think you've done such a beautiful job of bringing everybody together. Um, I think it always needs a different sort of a person who's a connector. So, which I feel you are an amazing connector. You're very soulful and also very, very much sort of spiritual. That's how we connected in the first place, actually. Um,
Thank you so
through
much.
a lot of attraction and all of that. So, it's an absolute pleasure to be on this platform. So, thank you for that, Viara. Yes, we met a couple of years ago and we've stayed in touch since then. So I'm very excited. Okay, so about inflammation, microbiomes, and all of that. My specialization is emerging to be in gut health. And if I were to even touch on the surface of what is gut health, it basically starts literally in your gut, and everything that you do, everything that you put in your gut is very it affects everything, all the
My
systems in your
specialization is emerging to be.
sorry.
Sorry, I
Okay.
just lowered the voice of the
Okay.
live
All right.
broadcast.
So everything we eat and everything around us affects our microbiomes in the gut. Now, most of the people actually want to know what microbiomes are. They're little organisms in our gut. Um, and there are the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. And if the bad bacteria kind of dominate, then you get lots of inflammation. And then inflammation related diseases are unknown weight gain, unexplained weight gain, water retention, aches and pains in your joints, as well as bloating, flatulence, gases, migraines, mind fog, lethargy. All of these things are actually very, very indicative of the fact that your microbiomes are out of balance. The word for that is dysbiosis. I suggest you actually check out dysbiosis. Now, what puts our gut biome into dysbiosis is an imbalance, is things like alcohol, processed foods, red meat, stress, lack of sleep, too much coffee, too much tea, not eating regularly, not eating enough fiber even. So all of these things really, really come into play when you have to, um, you know, um, actually measure the happiness of your microbiome. So as we learn in the course that I'm doing in my specialization about gut health in the US, in New York actually, um, your microbiome and your gut is the queen of the castle. And if the queen of the castle is not happy, guess what? She's going to tear down the entire castle. So it's quite a funny analogy, but it's very true. If your gut isn't happy and you're suffering from bloating, gas, discomfort and a big tummy, a distended tummy, it just gives rise to so many different things. So if your gut is not happy, you're not going to be happy. Your relationships aren't going to be very productive. You're not going to be very productive at work as well. So I would suggest we actually put forward the questions, if you like, Viara, because I can talk forever about gut microbiomes.
Mhm. We don't have at the moment question from the viewers, but I have a question. For example,
Sure.
what do you think that nowadays, especially in terms of immunization, we should do in order to strengthen our gut?
Very good question. So, excuse me. So currently we're in a state of total breakdown of what we knew as the norm. So many of us are actually a bit disorientated and also quite stressed about the future and about even the present, really. So all these things tend to take a toll on our microbiomes, on our gut, which in turn shows up as mental instability, depression, all sorts of, it manifests itself and in different ways. So the things that we can actually take into account and make sure we do on a daily basis, number one is to eat a lot more fiber. So by fiber, I mean plant-based, and it also means less processed, but more whole foods. What are whole foods? Whole foods are things like quinoa, vegetables, brown rice, lots of grains. Now, all of these put together, they actually put your microbiome back on a happy track. Excuse me. Now, some of us, I know I have a lot of clients who struggle with eating right, because they're depressed or because they're stuck at home with the kids, with the family, and literally don't know what to do. So some of them are actually drinking a bit more. Some of them are drinking more coffee. Some of them are drinking more alcohol. Some of them are eating a lot more sort of, processed foods like comfort foods like donuts and croissants, crisps, all of that. It is difficult when you're stuck at home and there's food all around you. So what do? First thing to do is to make that decision and commit to yourself, have that intention that you're going to clear out your entire area of processed, nasty, sugary foods.
Mhm.
Excuse me. The minute you do that, you're crowding out. So what that means is you're bringing in really healthy options, even for your kids, even for your family. The good thing to do is to have healthy options everywhere around you. So fruits, vegetables, crackers that are made, from whole grains, flaxseed options, porridge, all of that. These things are really, really critical in making you make the healthier choices. Obviously, when you're drinking milk, switch to almond milk. When you're having sugars, switch to sort of more natural sugars. So things like honey or maple syrup are way, way better than having refined white sugar, as we all know. Those are the minimum changes that you can make, and that's going to help your immunity as well. Um, when you eat crappy foods, your immunity goes down as well. We all know that, right? So I would suggest those are the first things to do. Cut out the sugar, the refined sugar, cut out all the processed foods and the oils and butters and all of that and the cheeses. Switch to just anything that is whole and it's not processed. So if it's, here's a little tip. If you're actually looking at something that has ingredients and it's sitting on a shelf, eliminate. It's in a package, just eliminate from your diet. So go back into the ingredients. So if you want to have potato crisps, make some potatoes at home, just, literally in your dry fryer, stick them in there. Those are chips that are actually healthy for you with low oil and no ingredients that are nasty, like numbers, preservatives, additives, coloring. So that's the first step. Eliminate processed foods and sugars. Teas and coffees, switch to more herbal teas. I mean, I know that when the isolation first hit, I was having like 8 cups of tea in a day, one after the other. That was not very healthy, but it was a coping mechanism. However, I realized if I switched to herbal teas, it was fine. You're not damaging your system with too much caffeine and tannins and all of that. So yes, that was a very good question, Viara.
Okay.
So, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
go on.
It's very good to say, but in reality it's a bit harder on us. And so that, for example, many people love to eat their cheese or their butters, and everybody is also excusing with the fact that it's expensive, especially nowadays. So they will say, okay, but cheese is so affordable, milk is so affordable, and the replacements are so expensive. So how can you do a low cost replacement of your food, especially when you are with family? What do you say to that, Ahlam?
Yes, that is a very valid point, and it could just be that you don't look at expensive replacements, you just look at regular replacements. So instead of cheese, I mean, instead of having so much cheese, bring it down to maybe twice a week. With milk, it's not expensive to have almond milk, to be honest. I mean, I think they're equally priced, or make your own. It's very easy to soak your almonds, stick them in the blender in the morning, and that's your almond milk. Same with coconut milk. We have more time now. We're working from home, many of us. So there are so many options. And then crowding out is a very important concept. When you bring in some healthy options, whole foods, automatically you're crowding out the naughty foods. So maybe don't look for a replacement, maybe just crowd them out. Bring in more fruits, vegetables. So when my son was young, he used to, at school, he realized he loves Oreos, because kids were bringing those in. So at home, I said, you're allowed to have the Oreos or whatever outside the house as a treat. But when you're home, I used to kind of put, pieces of carrots, carrot sticks, cucumber sticks, all sorts of interesting sort of fruits cut up in a bowl, presented elegantly and in a fun way for the kids. And he would just pick on that. So I think it's what options you keep in the house. If there's no naughty foods in the house, they're not going to be able to eat it. So my suggestion is just don't keep them in the house. Keep them as a treat for once a week when you go out, or when you're on a shopping trip or supermarket trip. Include a little bit of chocolate or whatever they need, but then with the agreement that at home they're actually going to eat a lot cleaner. Do you think that would work, Viara? I know it worked with my son.
Okay. Well, if you have experience with that, so for sure it's manageable. The only
Yeah.
point I have here is sometimes the kids, yes, they see other kids and then, of course, they cry at certain stuff that you feel guilty to say no. And this is what I think many moms will have challenge with. So this is where you have to educate the kids. How did you do it with your son, for example?
Yeah, that's a valid point. So I think, I mean, my son feels like I'm way too healthy sometimes. So he does rebel, or he used to rebel as a child. So I would wake up every morning and make him a very clean, healthy sandwich with fresh chicken pieces instead of the mortadella processed meats. Um, and then I would put lots of fresh salads and, lettuce, tomatoes, etc. And every day I would see his box would be empty, and I'd be very, very thrilled. And one day I said to him, Shibran, you're doing so well. Well done. You've finished all your vegetables and your fruit and everything. And he looked at me. I said, what did you think of the sandwich, Shibran? And he looked at me rather guiltily, and he goes, actually, Mom, I traded that sandwich in for a sausage roll. I nearly died. And I And I thought, oh my God, I wake up every blooming morning, at least 15 minutes early, to make your sandwich from scratch. I don't give you anything that's processed. And you go exchange it for a sausage roll? Really? Of all the things in the world? Anyways, that's when I realized that they see everything and they really want to try these different things. It's curiosity, it's not rebellion. So I did allow him these things once a week, and I explained to him, like you said, if we can communicate to them, then it's fine. So I just explained to him there are good bacteria, bad bacteria, and it kind of made sense to him. So he is generally quite healthy, but I think it's all about communication. If you can communicate with your kids as to the fact that you'll fall less ill, a friend of mine had died of cancer years and years ago, and my son was aware of it. And I had to explain to him that it's all about eating clean. And then, you know, we see how things proceed, but just avoid the variables that can actually cause these issues. So E numbers, all of that. So he's learned to read the labels. And the best part is he actually educates his friends, and he goes, no, I can't have that can because it's got 12 grams of sugar. I can have that one because it has 2 grams of sugar. And then he won't have processed cereals. He'll have oats instead. So yeah, I think it's about just educating, and whatever they see at home is what they're going to replicate. So if you're telling your kids to not eat crap, but you're eating it and you're eating donuts and fries and I don't know, nasty burgers and all of that, then they're not going to follow it. They're actually going to just do what you do, right? So it's about creating a healthy atmosphere at home, which then allows you to have a very clean gut, which in turn means less inflammation for everybody around. So heart diseases, joint aches and pains, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, some tumors, all of this is inflammation related. So yeah, it's about time we started to think about how we're eating and how it affects our younger generation. And the funny thing is that when moms are eating bad food or women are eating nasty foods, it actually gets transmitted into the next generation. So even if a pregnant woman is eating, okay, yeah, you're eating pizzas once in a while, that's fine. We've got cravings. But if you're constantly eating foods that are not right for you, or they're not that great for you, it gets transmitted into your cells, into your DNA, into your baby. So really, it's our responsibility to be eating right for now and for next generation. What do you think of that, Viara?
Completely agree, and especially now seeing the trend of veganism rising up in the world.
Yeah.
So, and what I wanted to ask you actually is the next questions because we have few more minutes time.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, of course, the viewers they can ask you questions either here or directly contact you. I will put your details under the post.
Sure.
So is related to meat, because honestly speaking, I am someone who eats meat. Okay, I feel sometimes that, so maybe it's a time for me to go clean without it for some time, but later on, I have an immense craving for it. And I'm going on so hungry, and this is exactly what I feel that my body needs. So I wanted to ask you a good steak. I mean, not the naughty stuff, but a good steak, let's say lean good steak. So I wanted to ask you, what is your opinion on that? And taking in consideration now the veganism trend.
Okay, see, I mean, it's a very understandable fact, and it's just, it just makes a lot of sense to be eating plant-based and clean. Yes, there will be many people who still crave their steaks and their fish and whatever. I am not 100% vegan. I will eat fish, any type of seafood. Well, when I say any type of seafood, it's fish or prawns. So I would suggest don't look for labels. For anybody who wants to start a healthy journey, don't look for labels. You don't need to say I'm vegan or I'm vegetarian or I'm pescatarian or I'm carnivore or whatever. Just let it all go. These are just labels. Okay. And most of us just revel in the fact that we belong to a group of vegans or a group of vegetarians or whatever. But I personally say just start eating clean, eliminate the red meat. If you can't do it 100%, start with phasing it out gently. So if you've been eating it 4 times a week, bring it down to once a week at the weekends. And then gradually bring it down to once in 2 weeks and then once a month. Um, I mean, all the chemicals, everything that goes in the red meat is just really not the healthiest. I don't like to put people off 100% and say, that's it, you've got to go vegan or vegetarian. I say you've got to follow your own journey, but it's a lot healthier, a lot cleaner to go with plant-based. And don't even maybe say the word vegan. For most people, it means the vegan police, it means being really strict, it means, you can't sit on leather, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's just too strict for somebody who's getting started. I always say at least get started with cleaning it up. So if you're having, again, the crowding out concept comes in. So if you're having fruits and vegetables, 5 servings, as we're supposed to be having in a day, to avoid all sorts of cancers and tumors and just generally being healthy, it's 5 a day. So if you do have your 5 portions of fruits and vegetables in a day, you really don't have much space for anything else that's really naughty. So if you're craving a red piece of red meat or steak or whatever, it's probably because you're not feeding your system well enough. If you've got all your macros looked after, your fats, your proteins, your good proteins, that is, and your carbs, good carbs, then you really don't have much of a need. There's no space for cravings. However, if you still crave your steak once a week, go for it. Just, be mindful of the fact that you need to, it's very acidic, so you need to balance your body out. So don't start out by saying tomorrow I'm going to be vegan and that's it, or tomorrow I'm going to be vegetarian. Go one step at a time. Do one thing a week that's good for you. So add salad to every meal. That's number one, right? Eliminate sugars. Do that in week 2. Week 3, drink more water. So you're doing all of these things and it's building up each week. So it's not as if you're just doing that for 1 week and then switching that habit to a second week. So I would suggest make small changes, sustainable changes, and be consistent, because nobody is going to be 100% perfect. We're all human. Yeah. So it's very critical that you are mindful of the fact that we're human. You're not going to go cold turkey. So yes, that's my suggestion, and that's what we do on our gut protocol plan. Now, many of us, I get a lot of calls and messages that we're bloated, we're whatever we eat, we feel bloated. If I drink water, I feel bloated. So I'm having 1 meal a day, and that's a salad and My tummy is still bloated. What do I do? I have other people who've lost all the way through exercising, but they've got a big belly. So what does that tell you, right? They're exercising, they're eating right, they're doing everything right. They think they're eating healthy, but honestly, your healthy is not the same as my healthy, because we're all bio individuals. My system is very different to yours. That's another concept that I'd like to put out, is bio individuality. So most people will say, oh, she can eat nuts and not have a problem, but then she's not you. Your system could be intolerant to nuts or anything else. So it's important to understand we're all individuals. Also, it's important to understand everybody has inflammation. Each and every one of us has inflammation in our bodies. Some to a higher extent, some to a lower extent. Inflammation translates itself in all the different ways that I've mentioned. If you're feeling any of that, I have created a very special gut protocol program, which starts with 1 month and then it can be up to 3 months, depending on your ailments. So I have a lot of people with rheumatoid arthritis. I have people with lots of gut issues, IBS, Crohn's disease, celiac, etc., who are actually looking to clear up the system and then bring in. So we do the 4 R's. We remove the bad bacteria, we replace, we rejuvenate, and we re-inoculate. By re-inoculate, we mean bring in the good bacteria in a big boost, therapeutic doses. So that really helps people balance out their systems, eat more and lose the weight and lose their bellies and lose all the other symptoms of inflammation. And the biggest way you'll know your body is in inflammation or it's struggling with inflammation is water retention. So if you actually touch your area like that, your between your thumb and your forefinger, and if you see a white sort of patch come up that takes time to go away, that's water retention. And if you can look at your ankles, you will also know that that gives off. I mean, if it's swollen, your ankles are swollen, and if you just touch your ankle and it has that white patch that takes time to go away, it's water retention. So these are all signs, really. I mean, when your body is unhappy, these are all signs that you've got inflammation. Listen to it now. Listen to your body. Do something about it. Otherwise, honestly, it's chronic. The inflammation becomes chronic. And there is inflammation in all of us, but it's under the pain threshold. That's when it's non-detectable. That's when we're eating rubbish in our 20s and 30s and think we can get away with it. But by the time you've hit late 30s and 40s, your body starts to tell you, that there is inflammation, bing, 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 all these alarms go off. So yeah, it's best to start really early, get your kids into it. And generally when I work with people on the gut protocol program, the entire family start eating healthy. I've got one really lovely mother and son duo who are on my program. They're both really following the program really well, and I've got a Zoom call with them right now after this. And it's about how both of them have actually changed their way of eating and how the mom has lost about 5 or 6 kilos. We'll find out today. It's her check-in in 3 weeks. And that was all water retention, it was inflammation, and it was just your gut crying out for help. And the son's done the same. He's, I think, 16, and he has followed a very similar program created for him, and he's seen the same benefits. I mean, it's unbelievable. The benefits are unbelievable. It's not just weight loss, it's an overall feeling of well-being. And the joie de vivre. If you're not happy on a day-to-day basis and you're feeling meh, it's a very clear sign. Why shouldn't we live our life to the maximum, right? So let me know if any of you have questions about the gut microbiome program. It's just about rejuvenating your gut, and that way your entire body is going to be all set, because your gut actually dictates all your other systems, your digestive system, your circulatory system, everything. So yes.
Thank you, Ahlam. So our time unfortunately is up. So I didn't have any questions, but for sure there will be few, perhaps after we close. and
Sure.
anything related you could see as well, or I can also address you later about.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time. The program sounds amazing, and I got inspired to start eating even cleaner and healthier as I do, and to follow the advices, the simple advices of reducing meat intakes and sugar intakes, just to start with. And
Yes.
I'm inspired as well by your recipes that you share regularly on Instagram as well.
So glad.
Ahlam Ali transformation. Yes.
Yes, that's good.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
I
and
love,
then
I love sharing all the anti-inflammatory recipes, tips, everything. So yes, follow me and get a lot of free tips and recipes.
yes, and also for those of you who are watching us, Ahlam is generously extending 10% discount over her GAD protocol program, which is with duration of 1 month, where she follows up with you, and so basically implements her system on you directly and works on a based mode. So anything else, if you have as a question, please post below. And thank you so much for being with us. For those who were online, I saw a few people online. And for the rest of you, keep well and keep healthy. You too, Ahlam. God bless
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you,
And
Viara. Bless you too.
a lot of greetings to New York. I wish to visit this country one day.
Yes, come and visit me soon.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Lots of love to all of you and look